What's up guys? Welcome to another video of Technique Matters. So in this video, we're going to go through the importance of head position in the deadlift. Hey, this is Adam from Technique Matters, and in this video, I'm going to talk the importance of head position in the deadlift. Some of the common issues we see in the deadlift with the head position is people that extend their neck or extend their head too high in the start position, or they're looking too far down, and it manipulates the spine throughout the setup. Typically when someone is looking too high up, it brings their spine into extension and it has that open scissor behavior throughout the rib cage and pelvis. And then the complete opposite happens when you look too far down. Your spine goes into flexion and then you come into the closed scissor characteristics when it comes into the bracing. So the common issues what we see with the head position in the deadlift is someone will start with their head position if they have their focal point set at one point, and then they change that focal point throughout the movement. So I'm going to get JJ to demonstrate a behavior of looking down and then starting the pull and then look up. Yeah. And then you can slow that right down for us. So see what happens to his spine and his positioning when it comes to the lockout. See, very extended up there. You can put it down. So he comes in to a very extended position. This rib cage and pelvis opens up. Force comes into the lumbar spine, and then it changes the center of mass when it comes up to the lockout. So it can typically throw you off balance as well. So what people think of is like, okay, I'm coming up, I'm going to lift my head up and it's going to help my lockout. No, it's not going to help that. But if you keep that head position constant throughout the lift, it may help. But changing it throughout the lift, we don't want any spinal movement throughout the whole range of motion. Now we're going to just do the opposite way where we're going to go full flexion. So just look straight down throughout the whole movement. And you can see straight away, you can see thoracic spine flexion through here. You can see anterior pelvic tilt. And then just pull like that? Yeah, just pull like that. Doesn't have to be explosive. Yep. You can see that it's very crunch position through here. Neck, spine is very flexed. It's not too bad here, but it's more. It's very exposed throughout the from the floor to the top. Okay, so back down. So that's one thing we don't want to do. We want to keep the spine in a neutral position. We want to also keep the pelvis, spine, and neck in a neutral position, hold them as one. So now we're going to go through what it should look like. So now I've just got this trusty PVC pipe or stick to demonstrate what we want to see into the start position of the deadlift. So what I'm going to get JJ to do is just get in the start position and just go into a position where he's just about to pull off the floor. So you can see now that this pipe is on his tailbone, it's on his thoracic and his head, the back of his head here. And you can see it's a nice neutral position. And this is what we want to maintain throughout the whole lift. Okay, so relax. So what this does is if we maintain a good head position, this will also control the pelvis and the thoracic spine. Once we start to adjust the head position, it will manipulate the rest of the thoracic spine and the pelvis. So we want to make sure that all this stays in the place throughout the whole movement. Okay, so now we're going to just demonstrate a good head position, good thoracic spine and pelvis. So what JJ is going to do, he's going to find a focal point that will make sure that he keeps that head position throughout the whole movement. And that's what we suggest for you guys as well, is just to play around and find a focal point in the room and keep your eyes on that. And that will keep your head position in one position throughout the whole movement. So come down. You can see that's nice and neutral now. Cool. Boom. We'll go one more time. There we go. Down. And that's it, guys. That's what you want to look out for in the deadlift. Conventional sumo, exactly the same. Right now, we're going to show for you conventional deadlifters out there, exact same concept. Find a focal point that maintains a good neutral neck throughout the whole movement. It's exactly the same as the sumo deadlift, so both deadlifts are exactly the same, but just for you conventional deadlifters as well, we'll show you how it should look. So get it, head down a little bit. There we go. Boom. And then we'll do one more at a slower pace. Same focal point. Patience. Good. There we go, down. So you can see that the pelvis, the thoracic, and the head stay in line throughout the whole movement.
All right, what's up guys? This is JJ, and so what I'm going to talk to you today regarding the head position is we're just going to go through a bit of a biomechanical understanding about the similarities between the head position, the ribcage position, as well as the pelvis. So if you look at the skeletal structure of your head position, your OA joint, your scap, as well as your sacrum, they're all similar bones in terms of its structure. So if you tip one of them back, you're most likely going to tip the rest of the joints back as well. So this is just how the body moves as a whole unit, right? So if you're a person who has a bit more protracted shoulders, a bit more rounded shoulders, and as a result a more flex back as well, it might do you some good to be able to use the head position to drive a bit of extension. So I'm going to have Adam here demonstrate what this looks like. So Adam, if you just flex everything, so look down and then just bend everything over, right? Yeah. So when this position comes down, this will come down, and this will likely sort of tuck under as well, all right? So if from here, I would just like you to lift your head up. So see how it just like naturally sets a bit more neutral position. And what we're looking, okay, stay in this position. So what we're looking for here is actually a really important point. He has a bit of natural curvature of the spine, which if you followed us enough on Technique Matters, you'll know that in a deadlift, this is okay. This is a okay position. Your spine has a bit of natural curvature to it. But the most important thing that we would like to highlight here is something that Adam's doing very well, is that the top of his head, if you draw a line through, it literally cuts like, it literally comes out of like the bottom of his ass, which is basically where his pelvic floor is. All right. So this is what we call a good neutral stacked position. As strength coaches, we don't know what neutral really is unless you have an X-ray. You can't really tell. But if you look from the side, a good position is where the top of the head is in line with the bottom of the pelvic floor. Okay. So Adam, if you extend your head past this point, yeah. So most of the time people will think, all right, this is actually, his back's pretty flat, got a bit of natural lumbar curvature there. People think this is a neutral spine. In fact, this is actually really bad because if you look from the front, what's happening is this is the plane of his pelvis and this is the plane of his ribcage. So you can see that they're not parallel, they're opened up like that. So this is actually a very poor position to leverage his abs in. All right, so his abs are not working very hard and it's all going through his back. All right, so you can relax now. So when we talk about a good sagittal plane sort of stacking, we want that head across the pelvic floor. And if you're someone who struggles with a bit more flexion, it might be good to actually lift your head up slightly. All right, and if you're on the opposite end of the spectrum, who is someone that's very hyperextended and you're always throwing your back out and feeling like every time you deadlift, you are trying to really get your chest up and brace hard, but you always fall into a flex position. It might be possible that you're hyperextended, and as a result, you can try putting your head and your chin down slightly to align everything a bit better so that you can actually feel that your abs are holding position and your legs are doing most of the pushing and all of the work. All right, so if you find stuff like that helpful, you play around with the head position, film yourself from the side, and really it takes time to adjust to it, and actually just be a bit more aware when you're training, like how your head position is moving and stuff like that. As a general rule of thumb, most of the time people tend to not really focus so much on it, but if you think about where your eyes are looking, where your head is being set, that can really affect the way in which the rest of your body moves. So if you find all of this stuff helpful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and as usual we will see you next week.